In the last session, we were seeing about the meaning of planning and about the benefits or those factors which makes planning important, the importance of planning. Now, in this topic or in this subtopic, we will be seeing what are the features of planning. Features of planning. Features of planning. When we are talking about features of planning, the first and foremost feature, I said, any activity, any function of management always have the basic aim of achieving objectives. So, here also when we are talking about a planning, the first and foremost characteristic of feature of planning is it focuses on achieving objectives. It focuses on achieving objectives. It focuses on achieving objectives. That means always there is a purpose, or planning is always purposeful. Planning is always purposeful activity, and planning is always done in order to achieve an end point, in order to reach an end point. There is a purpose for planning. And without this purpose, this planning will not have any meaning. That itself is the first feature. Planning is done with a purpose. Planning is done for achieving the objectives, achieving the end points, which is already decided before happening of the event. So, planning is done with a purpose, and without this purpose, planning doesn't make any sense. So, that is what has been said in the feature planning focuses on achieving objectives. Planning is always done for achieving a purpose, achieving or reaching end point. Planning focus on achieving objectives. Second one is what we have already said, it is the primary function. It is the primary function. Planning is the primary function. That's a very important feature. Planning is the function which is happening before all the other function. It precedes all the managerial function, and that is why that concept is called as primacy of planning. Primacy of planning means planning precedes all the managerial function. Planning happens before all the other managerial functions, and that is called as primacy of planning. And as it happens before all the other functions, it acts as a base for other function. Base for other functions. It acts as a base for other functions. It is preceding other function. Primacy of planning. Because of primacy of planning, it is the base for other function, or it is on the base of planning all the other functions are happening. And that is the second feature of planning. Primary function. Third one is planning is pervasive. Planning is pervasive. That word is very familiar for you. It happens at all levels of management. Happens at all levels. all levels and departments. All levels and department. Planning has to happen in all levels, or planning has to be performed by top level management, middle level management, lower level management. According to the scope of their position, it varies, but still all these levels have to perform managerial function of planning. And of course, all the departments in the organization has to do planning. But scope there also differs. Planning for finance department may not be same as planning for sales department. Planning for production department will be yet different. So planning has to be done by all levels of management and all departments in a business organization. That is why we call the feature planning is pervasive. It applies to all. That means all departments as well as all levels of management in an organization. Planning is pervasive. We are going on to the fourth feature, that is, it is continuous. Planning is continuous. Planning is continuous. Planning is continuous means planning happens in an organization from its beginning till its end. Or planning, we can say that planning is happening in an organization. Planning is happening in an organization, or planning is a never ending or ongoing process. Happens from starting to end of an organization. Happens from starting to end of organization. That means, of course, plans can be for a particular period. It can be, say, for 6 months, can be for 3 months, can be for 1 year, can be for 2 years, can be for 5 years. That doesn't mean that planning ends after 1 year, planning ends after 2 years. Next plan will follow. Once plan period of 2 years is over, next plan has to be prepared. It has to be followed by another plan. So one plan is always followed by another plan till the end of that organization. Till the end of that organization. The lifetime of organization planning happens throughout. So one plan is always followed by another plan, or continuity in planning is there. Continuous planning happens. A plan is framed, it is implemented, and it is followed by another plan. So one plan is followed by another plan, and it continues throughout the life of the organization. That is why we are saying planning is a continuous function or continuous process. It happens throughout the life of an organization. Now, the next feature which we are going to see is planning involves decision making. Involves decision making. That is the fifth, planning involves decision making. That is the fifth one. Involves decision making. We have already seen this one. Planning is always concerned with making choice from among the alternatives. Making choice from alternatives. Planning is always concerned with making choice from. For attaining objectives, there can be number of alternatives, and in planning we have to choose an alternative. Only one possible course of action will help us to reach the objective in a better manner. So we have to choose from the number of alternatives that one alternative. So that is why we are saying planning is concerned with decision making. We are making choice through evaluation and examination of alternatives. We are trying to see the positive and negative effects of each alternative, and we are finding out the best among them. So it is concerned with making choice. We have to decide on one alternative. So that is why this feature involves decision making. Next one is planning is futuristic. Planning is futuristic. Planning is futuristic. The term itself says it is concerned with looking ahead and prepare for the future. Planning is concerned with looking forward and getting prepared for the future. It is looking ahead. Planning is looking ahead and preparing for future. So we are peeping into the future, we are analyzing it, we are predicting it, and we are handling situations in such a way that it is benefitable for the organization. So it is futuristic because planning is looking ahead, or it is peeping into the future, and we are making necessary analysis and we are trying to reach at a conclusion. It may happen like this, and this is the way we are going to handle. Because of this peeping into future or looking ahead into the future, planning is called as a forward looking function. Planning is a forward looking function because it looks ahead, it peeps into the future for analysis and reaching at a conclusion. So this peeping into future or looking ahead makes a planning a forward looking function, looking into the future. So that is another feature. It is futuristic in nature. It is concerned with the future. Okay. Now the seventh one is, or the last feature which we have to learn is, planning is a mental exercise. Planning is a mental exercise. Planning is a mental exercise. When we are saying planning is a mental exercise, it simply means that it is concerned with application of mind. Application of mind. Application of mind is to be there in planning. We have to have foresight. We must be able to think ahead. We must be able to look forward and predict. There must be intelligent imagination. We must learn from the situation. We must be able to reach at we must be able to imagine, okay, these things, because of this may happen like this. So this is the way we are going to handle it, and we have to reach at we need to have sound judgment. Foresight is required, intelligent imagination is required, and sound judgment is required. So it simply means that we have to apply our mind in the right way. That is why it is called a mental exercise, for thinking or for imagining with using intelligence, for making judgment regarding a particular decision, to look forward and analyze. We requires our mind to be applied. That is why it is called as a mental exercise. So these are the features of planning which we have to learn from this chapter.